from Los Angeles, this is the Echelon Radio Network.
Hi, this is Jerry Hemsworth with the Echelon Radio Podcast. And today I'm sitting with, it's a great honor. I've known Sean Hart for a number of years. And Sean never ceases to amaze me. I think it was only a couple years ago I found out what his passion is when he's not doing mortgages. But enough about me. Sean, how are you today?
Hey, I'm great.
Good. So you are with CMG Home Loans, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you have been in the mortgage industry for how long?
I actually did my first home loan in 1985.
Oh, my God.
We didn't have to be licensed then.
Seriously?
Seriously. So a lot has changed in the world. But for our listeners, 1985 was 12% interest rates, 15% interest rates, and I couldn't make a living.
Right.
So I left and went into the insurance business. And then many years later, 1998, came back.
Yes.
Been licensed and, of course, licensed and ever since.
And what is it about being a mortgage broker that lights your fire as a professional?
I love handing the keys to somebody and seeing their new life. I love what homeownership is. Starting a family, being part of a neighborhood, being able to do whatever you want to the house, right? There's the financial side of it. You've capped your living expenses as far as your home expenses are going to be. But you also get the tax write-off. So there's so much more, the memories you're going to build, marking your kid's height on the wall or on the door jamb, right? Remember all that?
Oh, yeah.
Right? The holidays, the experiences, the photographs, having family over, right? It's all of that. It just lights me up.
And you were, you have a long story of getting to mortgage brokerage. And where did you grow up?
Well, actually, I'm originally from Montana.
Ah.
Yeah, originally from Montana. I'm a country kid.
My family roots are Montana as well.
Really?
Yeah, my grandfather was born there, and his whole family were cowboys, actual old-time cowboys up there.
Mine were miners.
Miners.
Yeah.
Coincidental.
Wonder where that
Hint,
fits in. Yeah, where does that fit in later?
Spoiler alert.
So that's my background, and then we moved and went into the Seattle area.
Yeah.
Was in the Seattle area for quite a while, and then adventures took us to California, and pretty much been here ever since.
What was it like for you to move from Montana to Seattle? Because your relatives, like you said, were miners and stonemasons. Okay, so very outdoorsy people. And then you moved to Seattle, which is a very different environment. What was that like for you?
Well, fortunately, we were in more of the rural setting of Seattle. I wasn't in Seattle proper.
Good, okay.
We were for a short time, but we moved out to the suburbs. And right outside our house was the forest.
Oh.
So I was building tree forts. I was building ground forts. I mean, we were playing army men. We were doing all the stuff that you did back then. Right out, actually in the forest. I'm shocked because there was bears and mountain lions and all.
Yeah.
And we were 6, 7, 9-year-old kids running around in the forest and had no clue that there was animals like that out there.
Yeah, but I think it's that youthful innocence, that it allows you to play and not worry. It's probably your mom was probably or maybe she's like, oh, maybe the bears will eat one.
Well, we were out riding our bikes and doing the tree fort stuff, and we just had to be home by the time the street lights came on. I mean, I literally grew up in that, drinking water from a garden hose.
Us too.
Pulling carrots and vegetables out of the garden and washing them off and eating them right there. I had that, and I try to recreate that now for my kids and grandkids.
Yes. I want to back up to Montana. Talk to me about your grandfather. Great-grandfather. And what was he into? What was he like?
He was heck on wheels.
Yeah?
Heck on wheels, yeah. He had quite the reputation. And he would tear up the mining, and he would head to town and often find his way to the bar.
Okay.
And lots of adventures would come out of that bar.
Oh, God, good stories, I bet.
Yeah, lots of stories, some I can't tell.
Yeah.
And one of the most endearing, and I think is funny, is he, because of his stonemason, when the winter would shut the mines down, okay, they'd go into town. And because of his stonemason background, he would be working on fireplaces. He worked on the fireplaces at the Grand Lodge in Yellowstone, and many of the wealthy farmers and families he would come work on. But this one particular story, he built a jail.
Really?
They needed a jail because the town was growing, and they were having some people that needed to be in jail. So he actually, the bars, the steel, it was a rock building. It was actually made of local rock, right? Sure. And he went back to that bar that night and got super drunk and got into a bunch of trouble, and he was actually the first person to be put back in the jail that he just built.
So he built it and was the first resident.
The first resident.
Nice, nice. Oh, that's cool. What kind of mining did he do?
Silver and gold.
Silver and gold. And is silver mined the same way as gold?
Pretty much.
Really? Okay. And there's
initially silver is processed differently because silver comes in different ores, I'll call it.
Right.
Where gold, you're typically going right after it.
So you, now fast forwarding, you get to Seattle, you make your way, your family makes its way down to California. You did a stint in insurance for a little bit, and then back into mortgage. At what point did you tell me about how you got into your? I can't even call it a hobby because it's more than a hobby for you. Tell us about what you love to do when you're not doing mortgages.
Well, I started out fishing, camping, being outdoors, dirt bikes, that kind of thing. And I was scanning the TV guide, and I ran across a show about gold mining. And I just landed on it, started watching it, and it reminded me that, that's in my family, that's in my background. Right. I should watch this,
Yeah, let's check this out.
And they started showing the rivers and the valleys and the mountains and the areas where people were placer gold mining. And I said, I've camped near there. I've fished near there. I think I've been there, And it dawned on me that I'm probably walking over and boating over, lots of gold. So I should probably go out and try it.
Yeah.
And I talked to my neighbor, and we grabbed some, we said, okay, let's go. Is there a place? And we joined a club, and they had an outing, and we grabbed a tent and some gear, and off we went.
Yeah. And what happened on that, your first time out? You're hanging out, you're learning stuff. What happened on that outing?
Well, what they do is they put you to work first for the common dig, right? So they work you pretty hard.
The chain gang.
Yes. So get some gold for the group.
Gotcha.
Okay. And everyone who participates gets a little share, right?
Nice.
And then there's free time.
Oh.
So we grab our mining equipment and we run down to the river, we put it in, we get it going, and we didn't really know what we were doing, but there was a very nice man there who had the actual model of unit that we had, and he showed us what to do.
Yeah.
And we went to mining, and had no clue what we were doing, and probably dangerous, and, just...
Wow, this is fun.
Exactly. And it came time to stop. And so we stopped, and we lift up the flap on the sluice box. I looked inside, and there was gold speckled all over the mat.
Oh. What happened? What did you say?
That was it. I was absolutely hooked. I mean, I can tell you the day, the time, what I was wearing. I can tell you the moment that all of this happened, and I was fixated on that gold. I mean, it was bang. I've got it. Fish on. I was hooked. End of story.
Wow.
Like, I'm doing this. Like, I knew right then and there, this would be a part of my life going forward.
How much gold was in the sluice box?
I don't know, $30, $50. I don't know. It wasn't that much. No, it wasn't that. It was this, I'm retiring. I've hit the motherlode. It wasn't that. Okay.
Right.
It was, we went out with simple tools and very little understanding and actually produced enough gold to pay for the gas that got us there.
Wow.
So maybe we could do more of this, and maybe we need bigger equipment, and that leads to the rest of what's happened over the last, a couple decades of doing it.
And explain to the listeners, what is placer mining?
So placer mining is gold that's been released from the rock.
Okay.
It's right there. You look at it. It's gold. It's laying there. It's a nugget. It's a flake. It's a speck. It's sometimes it's chunky. Sometimes it's not so chunky. But, gold is 19 times heavier than the dirt and the strata and the water that it's in.
Okay.
So that's why we use water to help separate using sluice boxes and other cleanup equipment, gold pans. That's why we use them, because the gold is so much heavier that basically we're doing material handling by weight.
Okay.
And so we're trying to get to the gold, which is going to be one of the most heaviest things at the end of the day when you're finishing up.
And is this one of the easier types of mining?
It's easier than hard rock mining.
Yeah.
It's easier than silver mining, yeah.
And what is hard rock mining?
Hard rock is typically when the gold is still trapped in the rock.
Okay.
Okay. It got pushed up probably by volcanic action, and it's been shot up when it was very hot, and it cooled and settled in some quartz, usually.
Yes.
And we're going back into those tunnels. Usually you can find an outcropping of quartz on the surface, is what the old timers were looking for. So they would work their way up the creek.
Okay.
Or a stream.
So they would find a stream because that was common for it to come down that way,
yes,
right?
because erosion and
yeah.
time had fractured the rock, weathering, ice freezing, fractures the rock, the gold falls out.
Sure.
And then the gold works its way down the mountain into the stream, and then floods come through and concentrate the gold, and that's what they were after. They were after what we call pay streaks, which are lines of gold in the bottom of the river that's laid in by natural forces.
Gotcha.
Okay? And then when they would get up a stream and all of a sudden the gold would stop. And they would go, well, how did it get here? And they would start looking up the valley sides, and they would go up to find the lode, which is the outcropping where the weathering occurred. And then they would drive shafts. They would test it, of course, and then if it was rich enough, they would drive shafts down, and that's how gold mines started, is they would drive a shaft down on that outcropping following the vein.
Gotcha. Hence the mother lode. Got it.
Right.
Okay. And so you were placer mining, and how long, when was that, what year was that you started placer mining?
Around 2000.
2000. So we're
2001,
talking
2000.
24 years, basically, of playing in the gold world. But something happened somewhere. What happened to take you into a little bit different direction from placer mining?
Well, you make friends and acquaintances and lifelong friends, actually, in this hobby. For me, it's maybe a little more than a hobby, but I've met some amazing people, and I've had some amazing mentors and guides along the way. And we've stayed connected, and those friends know friends, and things happen. And through these connections, I met a team of guys that were hard rock mining.
Where?
Out in the desert.
Out in the desert of California?
In California, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that introduction and those relationships led to an offer to become part of their team.
Oh, wow.
And hence, that's what took off.
And one day, your team, which is called
Mine Operator.
That's right. You guys get a call. What was that call?
The call was from a production company looking for junior miners, small miners, small team mining. And they wanted to interview us for a TV show. And we're like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Because our first thought was, we don't want to be on TV. We don't want anybody knowing what we're doing. We don't want anybody coming out here picking our gold. Like, this is hard work. We've earned it. This is our little corner, our little thing we've made for ourselves.
Right.
And we don't want to share. So why would we, expose ourselves?
Exactly.
Right? And they came back and they said, it really isn't about that. Why don't you watch some of the episodes and kind of familiarize yourself? And so we did a screen test. We agreed to a screen test. And they got us all on screen and asked us questions, and I guess one thing led to another, and they said, okay, we think you guys would be a great episode. We really love your story and what you're doing, and we want to take it to the world.
And which show was that?
It's called Mine Rescue.
Mine Rescue. What? And it's on
Discovery Channel.
Discovery Channel. Yeah, there's you and I were talking about this a while ago, over a year ago, I think. And there's a couple of guys that have a couple of shows on Discovery. And who are these guys?
Freddie and Juan.
Freddie and Juan.
Yeah. And they're off. It's the whole Gold Rush. Gold Rush started, and then it's off. Some more shows have come out from it. Yep. And so Gold Rush Mine Rescue is the show that ultimately came to us, and we shot an episode. And
it just aired last week. So on Discovery Plus, I even subscribed to Discovery Plus so I could see it that day. And fascinating, because I had no clue. I knew you were mining. I had no clue the danger that you face when you go out and do the hard mining. And my husband and I, Brian, we said, nope, can't get me in there. What is it in you that says, I'm putting aside my fear, I'm going down in that tunnel, and I'm going to pick at the rock? How do you face that? How do you do that?
It's almost second nature. We just do it. Yeah, really? We don't really stop and think about it or contemplate it. We don't really tell our wives about that part.
Yeah, best not to. Or kids.
Let's keep that quiet
dogs.
Between us. Yeah.
Don't tell your dogs. Yeah.
And there is a passion to what our country was built on, being self-sufficient, right? Yes. And just striking out on your own and being able to make it.
Yeah.
And whether that's working my day job and producing home loans and making housing dreams come true for families, or whether it's my passion digging and producing gold and just getting, I can't tell you how satisfying it is at the end of the day to have put so much mental and physical work into something. And some days it's a few dollars, some days it's many more dollars, right? But for me, it isn't about the dollars, right? There's a poem about mining, and it's not, just to paraphrase it, it isn't so much about having the gold, it's finding the gold. So going into these older areas and trying to decipher what the old timers were doing, why were they doing that? Why is this piece of equipment here? What was going on? And then piecing that together, and then going in and making your own discovery based upon perhaps a roadmap or a design that someone else had done before you 150 years ago, and then piecing that together and then putting the effort in, and then you hit something, and it's very rewarding.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Overcoming the challenges.
Yeah.
To get to, forgive the pun, the nugget of everything.
Well, I tell you, nuggets are few and far between. They're not really super easy to find, right? Because the old timers were pretty good at finding the big stuff, right? Yeah. But when you find one, I remember where I was. I remember the spot where that was. I could take you back to places I found chunks of gold. You've seen some of it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And they're almost like my kids. Like people say, well, why don't you sell your gold? And why don't you do that? It's locked away in the safety deposit. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't keep it around, number one. Right. And number two, they're so unique and special to me that I couldn't part with them unless I had to. And, I've had hard times. There've been up and down. There've been recessions. There've been a lot of tough, difficult times in the real estate business. And I've sold gold. I've paid for my expenses gold mining before. So I have that there as a backup.
Right.
But I also have little chunks of treasure that, are very fulfilling.
Absolutely. And it's not about the value. It's about the story and the overcoming what you had to go through and the joy of finding it, I would imagine. And that is more precious than the actual dollar value, I would imagine. You and I were talking a few months ago about gold in California versus other places. Tell the listeners, how much gold is in California still? More
than you can imagine. More than your finite brain can encapsulize, right? There's so much gold in California that we literally could have a different country and a different world around it. California's the number one state in the United States for gold. Oregon has gold, Nevada has gold, Arizona. There are quite a few states where gold has been commercially mined throughout the United States, but California truly is the golden state.
Unbelievable. That I was always taught, Sutter's Mill and the gold miners, and I thought my own perception was, okay, they got the gold out of California.
Oh no,
done.
No.
And that's what, when you and I were talking, I had no idea that there's that much gold left and still can be mined. I mean, for generations to come, I would imagine.
Oh, absolutely. It would be life-changing if we were allowed to get in and go back and claim what's there.
So now circling back to your profession and working with clients, do you see, as an outsider, I see the parallel. Do you see the parallel between working so hard for these clients that might have challenges and also what you do with gold mining?
I didn't. To me, it's kind of second nature. Breaking into the real estate business and the mortgage business wasn't easy at the time I did it, okay? I've had huge obstacles with interest rates and clients and bad credit and lots of other reasons.
Kind of out of your control.
Very out of control, right?
Yes.
So to me, it was just I have to support my family, right? Got a mortgage, got overhead, car insurance, bills, health insurance, all the stuff we all have. I got to get busy, okay? So I got busy. And I didn't realize that I was working just as hard at piecing difficult loans together for people as I was in my passion out trying to find pieces of gold, and it really, it was you that brought it to me. It was you that brought it to me and said, do you really realize these two things are side by side, that you're really doing the same thing?
Yes.
I actually didn't.
Yeah.
It was really eye-opening and freeing.
Good. Oh, God.
When you brought that to me, it's like, wow, I'm kind of doing what I'm supposed to be doing, Like it just really was very freeing and opened me up to possibilities and new things. And it's actually reflecting in my production now at work.
Nice.
The staff I have around me, the tools I have available to me, it just makes producing a home loan for a family a lot easier, a lot cheaper, right? And fulfilling for both parties. Right? It's a win-win. The customer gets a great experience and home, and I feel great helping them.
Yeah, I bet. There are no mistakes, Sean.
Well, there are Thank you for pointing that out, because it really has put a spring in my step.
That's good.
It's good. Easy to get, at the time where we're talking about this, interest rates are not in the best place at all, and actually have been going up, so it makes it even worse. So it's really easy to focus on the negative sides of things, right? Oh, I can't do this because of this, or oh, I can't because of that. And that's all just self-defeating, like step on that thing and throw it out, okay? And when you brought that to me about tying those two things together, it's like the determination. When I'm tired at the end of the day and I haven't gotten a lot of gold, that doesn't stop me. I get up the next day and I work even harder, right? Well, I'm doing that at work, and I've done it at work for decades, and I've helped thousands of people, right? And I just didn't tie the two together. And since you brought that to me, I tell you, it's just very freeing. So thank you. Thank you.
Very welcome.
It's been a real treat. You've really helped me.
Thank you. I'm glad. I'm so glad. And I know your reputation does truly precede you for helping the clients who might have a difficult situation, and for what you do for them at CMG Home Loans is really, really awesome to hear. We do talk about you behind your back. I'll just be right up there with you about how amazing the deals are that you do for clients. And you just need to know that when we do talk about you, it's all amazing, great stories. So
it's advocacy, it's client advocacy, and it's not taking no for an answer, right? I just don't take no, and I'm a client's advocate to the last. I really am.
So thank you for being that, because somebody who's not in that industry and not really knowing that industry, it's a little scary when we come and say, okay, we need to either refi or a home equity line of credit, or we want to sell, or we want to buy. And we put a lot of trust in people that are in the industry like yourself. And we just don't want to be ripped off or anything like that. So what's beautiful is to be able to refer people to you and say, don't worry, Sean's got you. Sean's got you. You're in such amazing hands. And thank you for being that person that we can refer people to.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Sean, thank
I
you
love it.
so much for being with me today. I really love your story. We just published it in the Q3 2024 issue of Echelon Professional magazine. You can check it out online. It's such a... I could talk to you for hours about mining because it's such a foreign thing to myself. And I'm fascinated by what you love to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. It's been my treat.
Love it. Thanks.
Presented by Echelon Business Development. More than just networking. Way more.